So I'll ask the question that's on everybody's mind this week. What exactly is going on with Dr. Jordan Peterson? It looks like he's lost a lot of his male audience, and we're going to take a look at how exactly that occurred. Also, we have news that a doctor who specializes in Parkinson's disease has visited the White House 8 different times. 8 different times, my friends. No big deal. Everything is fine. It's totally fine. And Amber Rose is speaking at the RNC. What are your thoughts about that? Because I'm going to tell you mine. All that coming up on Candace.
Okay, I have no thoughts about that.
I've never seen this. What the fuck? Why is it so like
Dr. Jordan Peterson. Okay, I just want to say at the top, I obviously have met and worked with him. He has always been extremely kind to me. So nothing that I'm going to say.
So how long has this show been going on? It's already on episode 21.
21. I feel like that's actually kind of impressive because she was fired from the Daily Wire like really recently. So like she must be putting out episodes at a pretty good clip. So yeah, as I said, definitely some kind of master of the forum. So respect to our sister in podcasting, Candace Owens. I am a little bit confused. She said it looks like Jordan Peterson's been losing a lot of his male audience. So like the chicks are still listening. I'm just trying to follow the thought here.
She actually explains it pretty well as she makes out her lays out her argument. She does a really good job laying out her argument.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to give her credit there.
Should be taken personally. I am just taking a look at something objectively that, of course, is fascinating, interesting to watch, because it's really difficult to capture into words the international level of celebrity that this Canadian professor of psychology reached on YouTube. A celebrity which began back in 2017 when he began dropping lectures that were aimed at men with lessons pertaining to how they could order their lives. We all remember this. He subsequently dropped a book in 2018 that was entitled 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. And just so we're clear, that book sold over 10 million copies worldwide. That is, nobody sells 10 million copies.
Ben, we need a new bumper image that we like put our graphics on of like that you need to be on there, just like she is on.
He's worldwide in any book. It's unbelievable.
Faded and glamour shot.
Thereafter, he embarked on an international world tour.
Right on that.
I'm not kidding. He sold out stadiums across the world. And I remember watching this celebrity, just watching his star rise, and I was absolutely fascinated, as I'm sure a lot of women were, partially because there are very few people that achieve celebrity in their later years. Jordan Peterson is 62 years old. So we were watching a person become a 62-year-old rock star. That in and of itself is quite impressive. And people definitively do not achieve that level of celebrity by being a professor. So it was just be amazed. I was absolutely amazed. But there was also a piece of me, and again, I am sure that women can relate to this, that if I'm being honest, I just didn't really quite comprehend it. Again, it wasn't for me, it was for men, but I didn't find any of the things that he was sharing to be particularly earth-shattering in his 12 rules. And I was shocked by the male response to it. So I'm going to give you just a few examples of the rules that were in the...
All right. She's a girl. She doesn't understand. Clearly, the men on the screen... Like we all saw the profound insight in 12 Rules for Life.
Yeah, that's why I have cats.
that is one of the rules. If you see a cat in the street, pet it.
She's a real girl's girl. I guess she's really, really on the forefront of feminist issues, right? She just doesn't get Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, no, it's look. She cannot possibly be expected with her female mind to understand the profundity of clean your room and walk with your back straight.
Book. One was set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world.
Okay, wait a second.
Another one was
she has a film motif, literal film, and now she has switched to vintage VHS. Mm-hmm. I don't approve of that. I think that's inconsistent visual grammar. Okay, so not to mansplain, but I don't think that's. I'm gonna have to talk to her editor because I don't think that's right.
Yeah. If you end up getting offered a job, I'm fine with it, but I just want to know that you're still gonna have time to do GTAA.
Yeah. I'm just gonna use the same templates for this show's just gonna use the Candace template.
Let's pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. The third was tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Another was be precise in your speech. And the last one was pet a cat when you encounter one on the street, which that makes it sound silly, but essentially he was saying, like, don't miss the small things in life. And I don't know if I wasn't so amazed by this, because a lot of these kind of are repackaged biblical proverbs, and you should read the Bible. And I'm sure that obviously was a source for him. But I was really, I guess, taken aback by the male response to it in a way that was meaningful for me. I actually learned a lot because I realized that a lot of men were feeling disordered. I recognized that for men to have the response that they did, clearly something was missing in their lives. And I was glad that they had this male example to say, hey, listen, this is a little thing, but make your bed in the morning, because it means something to make your bed. Stand up straight. And I notoriously walk like a lobster, like have some self-confidence, have some self-respect. And again, it made me reflect on just how far feminism had gotten, that we were making men feel so deflated that
I think
took just one man, a professor, to stand up and say, hey, you don't have to feel that way. And your life should have purpose, and your life should have meaning, and you should do things that give your life purpose and give your life meaning. So I was like, kudos, love it. And as I said, I got to meet him multiple times.
I actually don't think Dr. Peterson wants men to start lobster crawling.
Hi, everybody. Eric Trump. I want to thank you so much for the tremendous support of my father. He's an amazing guy. The way they've attacked him,
he's an amazing guy.
The way they've gone after our entire family.
Oh man, who calls your father an amazing guy? That's really evidence of a close relationship. He's a great guy.
Then things started to shift. So let's recap what happened. In January of 2018, so this was really at the peak of his celebrity, he appeared on Sam Harris's podcast, which was entitled Waking Up with Sam Harris. And he seemed rather incoherent when he was being asked for a basic definition of truth. And people recognized this. Perhaps they didn't overthink it. But a couple of months later, in July of 2018, he sat down with Joe Rogan talking about that moment, talking about why he was incoherent. And here is what he said. He said that it was due to the fact that he had consumed some apple cider. Take a listen.
But I didn't want to not do it.
Apple cider. Like, what was it doing?
Sulfites in it.
What was it doing to you?
Oh, it produced an overwhelming sense of impending doom. And I seriously been overwhelming. Like, there's no way I could have lived like that if that would have lasted for. See, Michaela knew by that point that it would probably only last a month, and I was like,
a month.
Yeah,
from
a month.
Cider.
Oh, I didn't sleep that month. I didn't sleep for 25 days. I didn't sleep at all. I didn't sleep at all for 25 days.
How is that possible?
I'll tell you how it's possible. You lay in bed, frozen in something approximating terror for 8 hours, and then you get up.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, not
and
good.
This is from cider.
I feel like Joe Rogan is all of us. I'm listening to that, and it doesn't pass the sniff test. I'm just going, wait, what, apple cider? You didn't sleep for how long? What are you talking about? He brings up Michaela, by the way. That's his daughter. We're going to get into it. That explanation does not make sense to me whatsoever. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming to know how everybody's body reacts to apple cider, but I just don't think that you wouldn't sleep for that long.
I like how for her audience, like, it does require like a little bit of an explanation. You know, like, I'm no doctor, because like, yeah.
Yeah, I also just
what followed thereafter.
Man, I kind of hate to give Candace quite this much support, but I really do feel kind of seen, because this was that Making Sense episode. I listened to that. That's like one of the first bits of Jordan Peterson content I ever encountered, and it was so fucking painful. Like,
yeah. No, she had the right response to that one for sure.
Like, it was like basically, and I'm just going to take a stand here and say I don't think it was the cider, but oh, you're muted, Andy.
She actually does go through it and says what she thinks it is.
Yeah, I mean, I will say in that case, I think he just has like a bizarre view that like he's trying to defend just and kind of like trying to coherently defend it just isn't going to go well. But like, I don't think, I don't think it's the cider, but I also don't think that it's like, brainworms or, drugs or anything like that. Like, I think that it's just that he's confused about the topic. He's got this sort of bizarre quasi-pragmatist view about truth, that like truth is defined in some sort of evolutionary terms as what like things are true if they help our species survive. And Harris is just kind of raising obvious objections, like said this many times before. This is the hour, however long they went, that where I've felt the most sympathetic to Sam Harris, as he's being like, well, hold on though, Jordan. What if there was a leak from a chemical weapons lab and it ended all life on Earth? That wouldn't actually mean that the theory of chemistry they were working with wasn't true. In fact, if the theory of chemistry they were working with wasn't true, presumably they wouldn't have been able to develop the chemical weapon that killed everybody. And Peterson, like the whole thing, to steal a line from my friend Nick Stang, like it just sound like Sam Harris sounded like a harried adjunct professor who's trying to talk down the world's most confused undergraduate.
Yeah, let's keep going. But so you were saying that the Sam Harris interview was torturous to watch, right? Not the Rogan interview, right? Because the
Rogan interview is fucking hilarious.
That seems like a delight. Yeah. Not edifying, but very delightful.
Not edifying, but very fun.
Was that in February of 2020, so that's almost a year and a half later, news broke that Jordan Peterson was seeking emergency drug treatment in Russia. According to his family, and this was in a CBC News article from February of 2020, Jordan Peterson's family says he has sought emergency drug detox treatment in Russia after several failed attempts to overcome his dependence on a potent anti-anxiety medicine. They obviously spoke to his daughter, Michaela, as she speaks out on behalf of her father a lot. She also has her own podcast and talks a lot about growing up with him and what she's learned. And this is a direct quote from her. He's had to spend 4 weeks in the ICU in terrible shape, but with the help of some extremely competent and courageous doctors, he survived. She goes on to say, the decision to bring him to Russia was made in extreme desperation when we couldn't find any better option. It goes on, the article says that his family says he had been taking the drug for years to mitigate lingering anxiety following a severe autoimmune reaction to food. His dependence reportedly started last spring after doctors increased his dosage, to help him cope with stress as his wife, Tammy, battled kidney cancer. Okay, so immediately have some questions there. So we're saying that there was a food reaction, and then in response to the food reaction, they put you on anxiety medicine, and then the dosage was wrong, and he apparently had what appears to me to be a drug overdose. And Michaela ends the article by basically telling them, like, he'll speak out when he's ready. And that moment came in 2021. Jordan Peterson was ready to talk about it. This is a New York Post headline entitled, "He was suicidal and addicted to benzos." From that article, it reads that he was struggling with an addiction to benzos prescribed to him after a violent reaction to a strict meat and greens diet. Okay. And then in regards to his cider, the apple cider overdose or the apple cider reaction, the New York Post writer put this, quote, Peterson has previously claimed that he didn't sleep for 25 days during this time. But the longest period of human sleep deprivation ever recorded is only 11 days, the paper notes.
6 years ago, I had it all. 2 years later, I lost everything. Mouth taping changed my life.
So what they're saying is he lied. He must have lied. I mean, that's unless, or he just broke this record from 11 days. He not only doubled it, he added some. He just added 14 days to the longest record ever held of sleep deprivation. Or, as I said, Jordan Peterson was not being honest, which would mean that he violated one of his 12 rules. And to be clear, back when he was saying this about having not slept because of apple cider, the internet immediately knew that he was lying. Here are some of the tweets from people regarding his cider overdose. One person writes, he's describing benzo withdrawal to a T, an overwhelming sense of impending doom and horrific insomnia. Another user writes, exactly what I just said. Bro had the withdrawals in the worst kind of way. Been clean and sober for over 12 years now, but benzos are harder to stop than heroin. This last person writes, he didn't say apple cider vinegar, he said cider. My inference is that it was alcoholic cider, and his reaction sounds like benzo withdrawal probably was combining booze and benzos for a while. In any event, we aren't getting the full story.
That's reasonable.
And lastly, this person writes, when I was detoxing off of methadone, I didn't sleep for almost 3 months. It is possible you're in a twilight, half awake, barely asleep with no real rest. If you've never been through addiction and or detox from anything, then you have no idea what you're talking about. So yes, the internet, people that have lived.
Yeah, I will say of all of the topics on which to get him, I think if someone says I didn't sleep for 25 days, and I don't think it's a huge gotcha to be like, oh, you had a month of terrible sleep in which you barely slept. I'm gonna give him that. I don't know about you. I'm gonna give him that.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I also think people who are suffering from severe insomnia oftentimes do sleep more than they realize because they spend so much time, lying in bed that like you, even if you drift off for little patches here and there, right? Like, you kind of don't register it. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I think that that sort of lawyerly, we looked up the record and this exceeds it by quite a bit. So it looks like he violated one of his rules. It's like, okay, there's a lot that's wrong with his cider claim, but I don't really think this is exactly it.
Yeah.
Through this, understood that what he was actually going through, far from the story that he was painting, was withdrawal. Good old-fashioned withdrawal, which a lot of drug users obviously know can lead to insomnia. Now, jumping back into the New York Post narrative, now again, Jordan is speaking out about having had this addiction. Jordan said he was prescribed a low dose of antidepressants to help him recover. I don't know if it's from the meat detox. I honestly can't follow. But the dosage was increased after Peterson sunk into depression following his wife Tammy's cancer diagnosis. So I'm going to be honest about when all this was coming out and it was all very confusing and it wasn't quite clear. Is this a food allergy? Is this depression? Is this just somebody who's addicted to pills and doesn't want to quite tell the public? I was having private conversations with people and people that are in the conservative movement going, I don't see how he's going to recover from this moment, because it just seems to me that if your entire brand is built on telling people how to order their lives, and then what becomes apparent is that your life is in disarray, how do they trust you again? I think that's the big question. How do they trust you again? How do they rely on you? And I had to examine myself at that moment, because people were saying, oh no, it's all about the comeback. And I believe in comebacks, but I believe that comebacks can only happen when you are radically honest. And I don't think people sensed, as you can see by those comments, that he was being radically honest in what had occurred to him. Instead, they felt that he was kind of trying to give a PR spin to what may have just been a good old-fashioned drug addiction. So I thought maybe I have a chip on my shoulder, because listen, I didn't have a pretty childhood and I've seen drug addiction, and I do have a very low tolerance for it. I'll be honest. Like when people are talking about their addiction struggles and I'm thinking, man, I wish addiction wasn't an option for me. Like people that just turn to drugs as a solution for every problem, it's hard for me to feel bad, because there are people that grow up in sets and circumstances that are so much worse and they don't turn to drinking and they don't turn to drugs. So I checked myself and I said, Candace, that is actually you just having a chip on your shoulder. And maybe it's true that it's amazing. And maybe Jordan Peterson having a male audience that he has will actually come out of this better and stronger because he will share with the world how he was able to overcome this and reorder his life, write another book, how to reorder your life after a chaotic scene. But that wasn't the case. I think men felt like they couldn't trust him. They never felt that he was fully honest. And it felt like there was a lot of him and his daughter kind of trying to condition this in a different vein, whether it was talking about his wife's cancer diagnosis. And I hope that she's okay. I think that she is, which is amazing. I know that she's recently come to faith.
Sorry,
there never seemed to be that big, radical, honest moment that came from him. Then,
overall, I'm really enjoying this. The sort of degree of is it, sorry, I'm trying to come up with a less problematically gendered word than, but like the pettiness, there we go, pettiness of this, the pettiness of this I'm really enjoying. This is like, it's just so obvious that it's like, all right, I'm out from the 10 to the Daily Wire. I can do my own thing. I'm going to do my Jordan Peterson hit. Like, yeah, no notes. I enjoy it. But like and she is right about a lot of this, but man, I particularly enjoy like what she just did. That is such a like corporate HR level kind of, this is a person with communication skills sticking in the knife in just the most, the most expert way. It's like, oh yeah, no, I had the thought that that it's really fucked up that he was using drugs, and like, I've come from a bad place and I didn't use drugs, and lots of people do, but then I realized that was maybe an unfair. That's yeah, this is I think you just said the thing, right? Like the thing that you said it would be unfair to say. I think you just said it.
Yeah, I would never say.
And we fast forward to October 7th, 2023, a day that will live in conservative media infamy because it just was a moment where people behaved in ways that the public is never going to forget, in my view. And on that day, Jordan Peterson did not tweet like Jordan Peterson, which is to say he did not tweet in a calm, rational manner. Here is what he tweeted.
That's how Jordan
Aren't you
Peterson
tired
tweets?
of all those boring, endless videos?
Yeah.
Try something new. Check out this awesome game with an epic story.
He wrote, "Give them hell, Netanyahu. Enough is enough."
Actually, I think the ad kind of went
He
well
began
with the,
trending, and he lost a huge following. Partially because he was perhaps not aware, because I'm sure, listen, he's 62 years old, he probably is not aware of the demographics of his audience, but it turns out that Jordan Peterson had a huge following of Muslims behind him, and they felt that this response was not calm. It was not dictated by rationality or the logos, which Jordan Peterson loves to speak about. He speaks about how postmodernism wants you to abandon your logos. It wants you just to react emotionally without properly thinking. And it seemed that that's exactly what Jordan Peterson did on October 7th. He wasn't asking for people to be calm. He was participating in the madness of crowds that he often speaks about. And people did not like that. And you saw people in the Muslim community saying, we will never listen to another word that he ever says, because he's not used his platform to talk about some of the hell that Muslims have also been enduring. Time has obviously passed since then. We're almost at a full year, just shy of a full year of October 7th. And I don't think his audience has fully recovered. But I can tell you that what just took place online at the end of last week was very strange. I was watching this back and forth, and it was extremely strange.
Before we do this
I will set this up for you again.
Again, I don't think she's wrong that what he tweeted on October 7th is gross and disturbing, certainly in terms of the content of it, right? That like we know what hell Netanyahu in fact proceeded to give them, and if Jordan Peterson doesn't know that, then he just doesn't know enough about this to run his mouth about it in public. But so certainly not defending that, genuinely despicable tweet, but also the way she framed that was really strange, right? It's like, oh, see, he's not doing his typical, he's not tweeting like Jordan Peterson in a very calm way. That's got to be one of the most normal things that Jordan Peterson has tweeted in years.
Yeah, I mean, my personal favorite is he tweeted out this picture from a porn site of cock milking, and said that this was a Chinese conspiracy, and eventually his daughter actually had to say, "Dad, no, that's porn. Stop it."
Yeah, I mean, he's like the guy, like in the we'll see who cancels who era, basically for the last couple of years, Jordan Peterson has tweeted and done videos, well, certainly dressing like, but also sounding like a Batman villain, ranting about how Gotham will pay. Right? Like this is calm for this era of Jordan Peterson.
That's true. I mean, she's right that he doesn't observe the level of reasonableness and rational thinking that he, tells other people to aspire to. But I don't know what she was talking about when she said that he's normally very calm. I don't think she meant that.
Michaela Peterson is his daughter, and she communicates a lot of what is happening with JP. So people see her as auxiliary to him. Now, to be fair, she is not Jordan Peterson. Of course, she is not Jordan Peterson. And we can't say that every word that she says should somehow reflect on what her father's viewpoints are. But she did tweet this. She wrote, "Yes, I think the Nazis on X equating Jews with rats and using hashtags like filth should have more content moderation and censorship. No, I'm not retracting that statement."
Of all this, I don't follow her on Twitter, but of all the things she could have said, that does not sound like the worst thing that she could have said.
Again, I just don't if you're gonna I'm somebody who's generally in favor of social media platforms having very permissive rules that err on the side of greater free speech.
Yes,
but man, if you're going to make that case, this might be your worst example to run with.
Yeah. I don't know what the line is, but
if these people get their way, we won't even be able to call Jews rats anymore.
Yeah, this is Candace. This is where I feel like the 15-minute mark is where Candace is about to go into her own insanity.
Yes.
Okay, what? You're just straight up calling for censorship. I mean, using the hashtag filth, that is literally an English word. And you can say that word whenever you want. In fact, rather notoriously, I use the word filth to describe Rabbi Shmuley. And I use that word to describe Rabbi Shmuley because Rabbi Shmuley is filth. I meant what I said. This man harassed me for 2 years. I would be really, honestly, shocked and disgusted if somebody would dictate that I'm the one that deserves to be censored after this man harassed me for 2 years. And I never called for his censorship or his hag daughter censorship. I just said, you're filth because you are filth, and that is my right to use that term. So for Michaela to make such a strong statement calling for censorship is not going to reflect well on her father, particularly because her father has said things like this in the past. Take a listen.
Freedom of speech is a cardinal value, not because it gives you the freedom to speak, exactly, but because without that freedom, we can't think, we can't improve our institutions.
I totally agree with what Jordan Peterson is saying there. It is a cardinal value, and it is true that we have to be free to critique people and to critique our institutions. It's the only way that things get better. It's the only way that the truth can get out. As soon as you start censoring speech, the question is who's in control of dictating what should or should not be censored. We just went through COVID. I mean, the COVID stars online saying, you can't say this, you can't say this. These were radical lefties, and it was a very bad thing. Jordan Peterson has also tweeted this in the past pertaining to freedom of speech. Free speech is not just another value, it's the foundation of Western civilization. Again, I agree with that. So it's quite shocking that she would take this perspective. But again, she is not her father, that people should be censored for referring to people as rats or referring to them as filth. But what was more shocking was when Nick Fuentes, who is considered the leader of the Groyper movement, wrote this in response to her. He wrote, "Your dad literally called me a rat last week. Thank you for exposing yourself and revealing who you really work for. Both of you freaks should be deported to Israel since you love it so much they can have you." And he attached a tweet from Jordan Peterson, where Jordan Peterson did, in fact, write this to Nick Fuentes.
Who's going to be the reason
he wrote,
person here?
"You, at Nick Fuentes, really are a psychopathic rat." So, yeah, now we're in a conflict here. She is calling for the censorship of her father, right? I mean, if you're saying the standard is just calling somebody a rat, and
I don't think that's what she was saying, actually.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I mean, I think that you can. I mean, look, I just want to say in my, you know, like in my above it all, you know, enlightened both sides wisdom. I do in fact think Shmuley and Fuentes are both psychopathic rats, but.
Wow, that's what enlightened centrism. Their galaxy brain take. Everyone's bad then. Sometimes you have to pick it. Those are the two sides of the argument. So, like it or not, you have to pick one.
Yeah. Rabbi Shmuley and Nick Fuentes, right? You know, everybody has to root for one or the other of them. Those are the rules.
Two-party system. Yeah.
It's like, look, I didn't like having to vote for Shmuley, but. And I really wish that he hadn't worn his Purim costume for his victory speech at the made me really not feel happy about that vote, but you know, whatever. It's a two-party system. Yeah, I like. It seems like whether you agree with her or not, she seemed to be talking about referring to entire ethnic groups as rats.
And then to top it off, the tweet that Jordan Peterson's replying to, calling him a rat, is apparently like you saw, just like whatever he's replying to, he's accusing the Jews of doing something. So he's being, you know, his typical Nazi freakish self.
I mean, I don't like man, Shmuley versus Fuentes would be a hard one, but
God, I would just let them fight.
I mean, I actually think I like in some bizarre nightmare scenario where I had to be ruled over by either Jordan Peterson or Nick Fuentes, I would actually take Jordan Peterson in a heartbeat. But
not a tough choice. One is entertaining at the very least. But I mean, I feel like this is a typical right-wing move too, of like not acknowledging the context at all. Of like, I do think you were right that she meant specifically calling Jews by like calling them rats or filth. But I mean, like, you know, calling certain races or ethnicities by certain words obviously means different things than calling other people those same exact words.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
like calling Andy a Khazar doesn't really mean that much, but calling Ben a Khazar is
well, I mean, I would say like it's like if I say that like if I pick some entire race of people and say that they're dumb, right? That's the kind of thing that like a social media platform hate speech policy might not allow. But like, and even if somebody says that's a good rule, that doesn't mean you're never allowed to call anybody dumb. Like that's a pretty basic distinction.
Yeah, there's a few distinctions that she's aligning.
It is not just because it is a phrase that's being directed at Jews, but because calling people rats is wrong, then your father would have to be censored. And so Nick Fuentes raised this obvious conundrum to her. Here's what she wrote back.
You're making this more complicated than it has to be. Oh my God,
were you called a rat? Did that hurt? I work for myself, you loser. And I know that Jews' success is due to their above average IQ. And I'm sure blaming a nation of people for your failings is easier for you.
Michaela, no.
We were so...
We're doing so good.
That's what we get for defending her for 1 second.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what?
I wonder if that's where we should even. I don't.
Yeah. No, that might actually be as good a cutoff point as any for tonight.
Yeah. Just end it with the guy from Godzilla going, "Let them fight."
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive post-games on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.